The nurse was assigned to care for a critically ill boy. He was more than just sick. He was losing the will to fight. Sonia was a nurse with many years of experience in pediatric care, known for her empathy and dedication to her patients. Every time she put on her white coat, she felt she had a mission to fulfill. Her eyes sparkled with determination as she helped children feel better. But above all, she offered comfort and hope in difficult times. However, when she received the call about Filipe, a boy in a delicate state, a tightening in her heart made her hesitate for a moment. The challenge was great, but her desire to make a difference in his life outweighed any fears. Upon arriving at Filipe's home, Sonia immediately noticed that the atmosphere was heavy. The smell of disinfectant mixed with the tension that permeated the air. She climbed the entrance steps, took a deep breath, and rang the doorbell. The door was opened by Reynaldo, Filipe's father. He was a man with a weary expression, dark circles under his eyes betraying sleepless nights and a worry that weighed heavily on his shoulders. The shy smile that appeared on his face upon seeing Sonia was a mix of hope and anxiety. "Are you Nurse Sonia?" he asked, his voice trembling, as if each word that left his mouth carried the weight of the world. "Yes, that's me," Sonia replied with a warm smile, trying to convey confidence. "I'm here to help Filipe. How is he feeling today?" Reynaldo gestured for Sonia to enter. As they walked through the living room, she noticed that each piece of furniture, each photo on the walls, told the story of a family that had somehow become lost. He led Sonia to Filipe's room, and when he opened the door, what Sonia saw tightened her chest. Filipe was lying in a small bed, his large, dreamy eyes fixed on the ceiling. He looked so fragile, like a flower struggling to bloom in a hostile environment. His skin was pale, and Sonia noticed that his arms were thin and delicate, as if life were slowly draining out of him. A sensitive heart, like his deserved attention and love, and Sonia knew that was exactly what she was there to offer. However, as Sonia approached Filipe's bed, she noticed the presence of Dolores, the boy's stepmother. She was leaning against the wall, arms crossed, with a cold and distant expression. Her eyes watched Sonia with a mix of distrust and disdain, as if she wanted Sonia to know that she was not welcome there. The tension in the air was palpable, and Sonia felt she needed to earn not only Filipe's trust, but also Dolores's, who seemed to be a difficult barrier to overcome. "Hello, Filipe. I'm Sonia. I'm here to take care of you and help you feel better," Sonia said in a soft voice, trying to brighten the somber atmosphere. Filipe slowly turned his head, and a faint smile appeared on his face. "Are you a nurse?" he asked, curiosity in his still delicate voice. "Yes, and I'm here to help you recover. Can we talk a little about how you're feeling?" Sonia replied, sitting on the edge of the bed, aware that every movement she made could be observed by Dolores. Reynaldo, who was in a corner, took a deep breath, as if he were hoping everything would turn out okay. He wanted Sonia to bring hope to Filipe, who had seemed so distant from him in recent days. Dolores, however, remained silent, watching every interaction with a critical eye. Sonia began asking simple questions, trying to build a connection with Filipe. At the same time, she felt the weight of Dolores's coldness hovering over them like a dark cloud. Despite the tension, Sonia kept her focus on Filipe, believing that his inner light could shine brighter in that troubled environment. "Let's talk about your favorite plants. I heard you like vegetables. What do you think about making a little garden together when you feel better?" Sonia suggested, trying to connect with Filipe's world. Filipe's eyes brightened a little, and for a brief moment, he seemed to forget the pain and discomfort surrounding him. "I really like carrots and tomatoes," he replied, a bit more animated. Meanwhile, Dolores remained silent, her arms still crossed. Her gaze was like a shadow, looming over what could be a joyful moment. Sonia felt that this tension needed to be unraveled for Filipe to truly open up. And so, with each word she exchanged with Filipe, Sonia knew she was beginning to build a path to healing not just for the boy, but for the family surrounding him. The story of Sonia, Filipe, and Dolores was just beginning, and the nurse was determined not to let Dolores's coldness stifle the hope that could bloom in the boy's heart. She knew that love and compassion were the keys to unlocking doors that had been closed for a long time, and she was willing to fight for it, one step at a time. Sonia entered the room with a mix of apprehension and determination. Looking at Filipe, she couldn't help but notice how fragile he seemed, his pale skin contrasting with the white sheets of the bed. But what caught her attention the most was the curious sparkle in his eyes, as if he were searching for something beyond the walls of the room. It was as if he were trying to connect with the world outside, a world that, although distant, still held its vibrant essence. "Hi, Filipe," Sonia said with a warm smile, trying to bring a little warmth into the clinical atmosphere. "How are you feeling today?" Filipe slowly turned his head, and a shy smile appeared on his face, a small flame of hope amid his weakness. "I think I'm a little better," he replied, his voice soft but filled with determination. The conversation began slowly, but soon Sonia realized that there was more to Filipe than his health condition revealed. As she spoke, Sonia noticed details around the room that spoke more about Filipe than he did himself. There were drawings of plants on the walls, each more colorful and detailed than the last. A small bookshelf held books on botany and gardening, and next to the bed, an open notebook was filled with sketches of flowers and notes on plant care. It was clear that, even in his condition, Filipe maintained a burning passion for nature. "You like plants, don't you?" Sonia asked, leaning in a bit closer, eager to open the conversation. Felipe's eyes sparkled instantly. "Yes, I love plants," he replied, his voice now more animated. "I'm a vegetarian and I've always loved taking care of them. Each plant has its own story and helps create a more beautiful world." Sonia was delighted to hear the passion in Felipe's words. "Do you have a favorite plant?" she asked, encouraging him to share more. "Sunflowers," Filipe exclaimed, the sparkle in his eyes intensifying. "They're so tall and always follow the sun. It's like they're always smiling at life." The way Filipe talked about sunflowers lit up the room, and Sonia felt that this conversation was not just a moment of interaction, but a glimpse into the soul of a dreamer. She remembered her own love for nature and the joy that plants had brought into her life. "Sunflowers are amazing, Filipe. They really are symbols of hope and positivity." Filipe smiled, and in that moment, Sonia realized that, even though she was there to care for his health, she could also help nurture his dreams. "Have you ever thought about becoming a botanist when you grow up?" Sonia asked, interested in learning more about his aspirations. Felipe's eyes shone like stars. "Yes, I want to understand everything about plants and how to take care of them. I want to help create gardens that attract bees and butterflies," he explained enthusiastically. His voice was filled with a hope that defied his circumstances, and Sonia was moved to hear the depth of the boy's desires. "You know, Filipe," Sonia began to explain, "botanists are essential for protecting the environment. They help discover new plants and preserve the ones that already exist. You could make a big difference in the world." As they talked, the connection between Sonia and Filipe began to deepen. The boy, who had previously seemed so isolated in his pain, was now opening a safe space in his heart to share his dreams and passions. Sonia could feel that behind the fragility of his body, there was a powerful and resilient strength. "I want to help you get better so you can achieve your dream of being a botanist," Sonia said, feeling the responsibility she now had in her hands. She was there not only to treat Felipe's health, but also to inspire him and support him on his journey. "Thank you, Sonia," Filipe replied, his tone sincere and hopeful. "That means a lot to me." That conversation not only brightened Felipe's day, but also transformed Sonia's mission. Instead of just being a nurse in a clinical environment, she was becoming a facilitator of dreams, someone willing to walk alongside Filipe in his fight for health while helping him nurture his aspirations. Sonia left the room with a light heart, determined to use every moment she spent with Filipe to strengthen this new connection. Looking out the window, she saw a small garden with flowers dancing in the wind and smiled, knowing that Felipe's path to recovery was intertwining with the beauty of nature and the strength of his dreams. As the days went by, Sonia noticed that the atmosphere in Felipe's house was tense, as if there were an invisible chill making everything around them more difficult. While she dedicated herself to caring for the boy, her attention also turned to Dolores, Felipe's stepmother. The woman was a personification of rigidity. Her posture was always upright, and her eyes, cold as steel, seemed to evaluate every move Sonia made. Dolores had a way of being that was intimidating, and the nurse soon realized that the woman was not willing to budge. With a critical gaze, she demanded that Filipe follow a strict diet, full of rules and restrictions, without considering the boy's preferences. Sonia knew that healthy eating was essential, but she couldn't understand Dolores' lack of flexibility. He's just a child, Sonia thought, struggling to balance her mission of caring for Filipe with the need to create a welcoming environment. On a sunny afternoon, while Filipe was trying to get out of bed to grab a book on botany, Sonia helped him. "Filipe, do you feel okay doing that?" she asked, concerned. The boy nodded, a light smile brightening his face. But as soon as Dolores walked into the room, the atmosphere changed instantly. "Filipe, get back in bed," Dolores ordered, her voice sharp as a knife. "You know you need to rest and follow the diet I've set. We can't deviate from what's planned." Sonia felt a knot in her stomach as she noticed the discouragement that was overtaking the boy. "Dolores, maybe a little movement could help him feel better," Sonia tried to argue, wishing to create a space for dialogue. But the stepmother was unwilling to listen. "You're just a nurse, Sonia. Don't forget your place. I know what's best for Filipe, and he will follow the rules I've established," she said, her tone clear and uncompromising, like thunder echoing on a summer afternoon. Frustration grew within Sonia as she realized that Dolores' resistance was not only affecting Felipe's emotional health, but also adding extra weight to her work. Sonia tried to maintain her calm and empathy, but it was becoming increasingly challenging to deal with the stepmother's hostility. Sonia decided to intervene in a conversation that could change the dynamic between them. One day, while Filipe was busy taking notes about his plants, Sonia pulled Dolores aside. "Dolores, I understand that you care about Felipe's health, but he also needs a little joy in his life. Food is an important part of that, and his preferences should be taken into account," she said, seeking a friendly approach. Dolores looked at Sonia, her eyes reflecting a mix of disdain and defensiveness. "I won't allow him to become weak, Sonia. Life is tough, and I'm just preparing him for reality," she replied, as if convincing herself of what she was saying. Sonia took a deep breath, fighting against the irritation that was rising within her. Yes, life is tough, but it can also be full of beauty and joy. Filipe is a sensitive boy, and he needs an environment that allows him to dream and grow, not just follow strict rules. The conversation was tense, and Sonia saw that Dolores' resistance ran deep. Every word felt like a battle, and the nurse felt she was struggling to break through a wall of ice that the stepmother had built around herself. Still, Sonia didn't give up. Every interaction with Dolores became an exercise in patience and empathy, an attempt to find common ground. She knew it was important to create a space where Filipe could feel safe and loved, and the interaction between the adults became a delicate dance. At the same time, Sonia focused on Filipe, trying to relieve him of the pressure he felt. Conversations about plants and nature became a way for him to escape the rigidity of his daily life. Deep down, Sonia believed she could make a difference, even if the situation with Dolores was complicated. Thus, the days continued to pass, with Sonia holding on to hope that one day Dolores' hostility could be transformed into understanding, and that the house could become a place where love and freedom could flourish, like the sunflowers that Filipe loved so much. It was a gray day, with heavy clouds covering the sky, as if nature itself were reflecting the tension within Felipe's home. Sonia had arrived in the morning, as usual, but she noticed that the atmosphere was charged, almost palpable. The boy, already facing challenges, seemed weaker than ever. His eyes, which once sparkled with curiosity and passion for botany, were now dull and filled with fatigue. However, The experienced and dedicated nurse couldn't let herself be carried away by discouragement. She approached Filipe, who was lying in bed, wrapped in blankets. "Hi, Filipe. How are you feeling today?" Sonia asked, trying to coax a smile. The boy replied with a barely audible murmur, his voice carrying a tone of fragility that left Sonia worried. The morning passed, and the nurse tried to cheer him up with stories about plants she had seen on her way. But with every moment, Sonia felt that something was wrong. Felipe's breathing became heavier, and he struggled to keep his eyes open. Sonia's heart raced as she realized that the boy's health was deteriorating. It was then that the situation took a dramatic turn. Filipe began to cough violently, a sharp and concerning sound that echoed in the room. Sonia immediately jumped from her chair, feeling adrenaline coursing through her body. "Filipe, take a deep breath. I'm going to get your medication," she said as she quickly headed to the table where the medicines were. Reynaldo, who was in another room, heard the cough and panicked. He rushed to Sonia, his eyes filled with concern. "What's happening? What should I do?" he asked, his voice trembling. The anxiety of a desperate father was palpable, and Sonia knew she needed to stay calm so everyone could act. "Reynaldo, I need you to stay calm and help me hold Filipe. We need him to relax so he can breathe better," Sonia instructed as she gathered the medications and prepared everything for the emergency. But before Reynaldo could help, Dolores appeared, her cold and distant expression quickly transforming into a mask of denial. "No, Sonia, he doesn't need more medication. Let's wait. This is all stress's fault," Dolores said, crossing her arms in a gesture of resistance. Sonia felt frustration building inside her. This was a crucial moment, and Dolores's lack of cooperation was complicating the situation. "Dolores, we need to act now. Filipe is having trouble breathing. The medication is essential," Sonia pleaded, her voice firm yet filled with concern. She knew she had to be strong, but the stepmother's opposition felt unbearable. Ignoring Dolores's resistance, Sonia turned to Filipe, who was now pale and gasping for breath. Carefully, she administered the medications and began performing the first aid techniques her training had taught her. "You can do it, Filipe. Breathe deeply with me," she encouraged, guiding him through controlled breathing, her words serving as a balm for the distressed boy. Reynaldo, in an act of solidarity and love, joined Sonia, holding Felipe's hand and looking into his eyes, trying to convey strength and hope. The connection between father and son was a light in the storm that surrounded them. "I'm here, son. You're strong. We'll get through this together," he said, his voice choked with emotion but steady. After a few minutes that felt like an eternity, Felipe's breathing began to stabilize. Color slowly returned to his face, and Sonia felt a profound relief seeing that her efforts were paying off. "That's it, Filipe. You're doing great," she exclaimed, an encouraging smile blooming on her face. The tension in the room began to dissipate, and Sonia turned to Dolores, who was now watching, her expression still hesitant, but with a glimmer of understanding starting to emerge in her eyes. "Dolores, it's important that you trust what we're doing. Filipe needs support and care, and he can count on us," Sonia said, her voice gentle yet filled with determination. Though the stepmother was still reluctant, she began to realize the importance of unity in such a critical moment. Sonia had remarkably managed to change the course of the situation, and this was a step toward a more welcoming environment for Filipe. This transformative experience not only strengthened the bond between Sonia and Filipe, but also began to open a door for understanding between Sonia and Dolores. Amidst the chaos, a new hope was emerging, a thread of empathy that could change everything for the better. Sonia knew that with patience and determination, she could help not just Filipe, but also create a bond of understanding and support among everyone in the house. After the tumultuous incident, in which Sonia managed to stabilize Felipe's health, a new chapter began to unfold in the house. The atmosphere was lighter, even though the shadow of the experience still lingered over everyone. Sonia realized that, more than ever, Filipe needed emotional support to face his challenges. With that in mind, she decided to dedicate extra time to him, creating a safe space where they could explore together not only the world of medicine, but also the fascinating universe of plants. The next morning, Sonia arrived at the house with a backpack full of colorful and interesting books. When she entered Felipe's room, she found the boy reclining on his bed, his eyes somewhat sleepy, but a spark of curiosity began to ignite when he saw the volume Sonia was carrying. "Good morning, Filipe. Today we're going to do something different. I brought some stories about famous botanists and books about plants that you're going to love," Sonia announced, her smile lighting up the room. Felipe's eyes sparkled with anticipation. He had always had a special passion for nature, and the idea of exploring it through stories made him feel more connected to the outside world. As Sonia began to flip through a book about carnivorous plants, she could see Felipe's expression change, his face reflecting the same curiosity she had seen the first time she met him. "Did you know that some plants eat insects?" Sonia asked excitedly. Filipe shook his head, a shy smile on his face. "These plants are like little hunters, waiting for the right moment to catch their prey," Sonia explained, using enthusiastic gestures to keep the boy's attention. The conversation quickly flowed into a lively exchange of stories and laughter, where each turned page brought a new level of fascination and delight. With each new story, Sonia sparked Felipe's dreams, encouraging him to talk about his own aspirations of becoming a botanist. "What do you want to do when you become a botanist, Filipe?" Sonia asked, looking into his eyes with genuine interest. The boy hesitated for a moment, but then began to describe his dreams. "I want to discover new species of plants and help protect the environment. Who knows, maybe even create a community garden, so other kids can learn about plants like I do." Felipe's enthusiasm was contagious, and Sonia felt inspired. "That's wonderful. You have so much potential, Filipe. Remember that every great scientist started with a dream, and I'm here to help you make it come true," Sonia said, her words filled with sincerity. Filipe smiled, and for the first time in weeks, Sonia saw a glimmer of confidence in his eyes. In the days that followed, Sonia continued to bring new books and materials, each carefully chosen to encourage Felipe's imagination. Together, they explored the beauty of tropical rainforests and learned about the importance of plants in producing oxygen and purifying the air. Each reading session transformed into a vibrant conversation, full of questions and discoveries, where Filipe began to open up more about his fears and insecurities. "Do you think I'm good enough to be a botanist?" Filipe asked once, insecurities showing in his voice. Sonia leaned closer to him, her eyes locked onto his. "Filipe, being a botanist isn't just about having knowledge. It's about a passion for learning and caring for nature, and you already have that in your heart. Believe in yourself because I believe in you," she replied, each word filled with encouragement. These moments became a turning point in Felipe's life. The emotional connection that formed between Sonia and him not only strengthened their relationship, but also began to transform the way Filipe saw himself. He felt valued and understood, and that motivated him to fight against the adversities that once seemed insurmountable. Over time, Filipe began to feel more confident in his own skin. He got out of bed more frequently, engaging in activities he had previously considered beyond his capabilities. The little garden that Sonia helped him start on the balcony became a reflection of his growth. He planted sunflower seeds, carnations, and even some herbs, each plant symbolizing a piece of his renewed determination. The shared laughter, deep conversations, and mutual support created an unbreakable bond between Sonia and Filipe. The nurse, with her empathy and compassion, not only helped the boy recover physically, but also encouraged him to dream and believe in his potential. And so, amidst stories and laughter, Felipe's life began to blossom in ways he never could have imagined. As days turned into weeks, the atmosphere in Felipe's home grew increasingly tense. Sonia, the nurse who had become a beacon of hope in the boy's life, realized that beyond concerns for his health, a silent battle was unfolding among the adults. Dolores, Felipe's stepmother, seemed increasingly determined to complicate things, and Sonia knew that open dialogue was necessary for the boy to receive the best care possible. On a particularly cloudy day, Sonia decided it was time to talk to Ronaldo about the strict diet imposed by Dolores. She was worried that Filipe, a boy passionate about nature and a vegetarian, wasn't getting the proper nutrients for his recovery. Meal times were becoming a source of stress, and Sonia knew she needed to intervene. Sitting with Ronaldo in the small living room, surrounded by plants that Filipe loved to care for, Sonia began to express her concerns. "Ronaldo, I understand that you and Dolores are trying to do what's best for Filipe, but I really think he needs more flexibility in his diet. He loves vegetables and fruits, and that can greatly help his recovery," Sonia said, her tone gentle but firm. Ronaldo listened, but his expression revealed the internal struggle he was facing. He knew that his son's health was a priority, but he also feared displeasing Dolores, who was increasingly resistant to Sonia's suggestions. "I'll talk to her, but you know how strict Dolores is about these things," he replied, visibly worried. Hardly had Sonia finished speaking when Dolores appeared in the living room, her imposing presence filling the space. She had a suspicious look, as if she had sensed the conversation and was ready to intervene. "What's going on here?" Dolores asked, her tone sharp. Sonia, sensing the shift in atmosphere, knew the conversation would soon turn into a battle. "We were just discussing Felipe's diet and how we can make it more suitable for his preferences," Sonia said, trying to remain calm. But Dolores' response was immediate and filled with disdain. "And who do you think you are to decide what's best for my son? You don't know our routine, and I won't allow you to interfere in his upbringing," Dolores said, her eyes flashing with indignation. The tension escalated, and Sonia felt challenged. "Dolores, I'm not here to make decisions. My only concern is Felipe's health and well-being. I just want to ensure he has the best nutrition possible for his recovery," Sonia replied, keeping her voice steady, though her heart raced. The discussion quickly escalated, with both adults defending their viewpoints. Sonia tried to argue with logic and emotion, while Dolores resorted to a fierce and relentless defense of her beliefs. "Felipe needs discipline. He must follow the rules, and that includes the diet we've established." "You don't understand anything about how things work here," Dolores shot back, making it clear she wasn't willing to yield. Ronaldo, who was watching the scene unfold, felt caught between the two. He wanted to protect his son, but also didn't want to engage in an open conflict with Dolores. "Let's try to find a middle ground," he suggested, but his voice was drowned out by the intensity of the debate between Sonia and Dolores. The arguments became more frequent, and the atmosphere in the house became unbearable. Filipe, who heard the echoes of raised voices, felt distressed. He adored Sonia, who always brought books and stories about plants, but he also wanted to please his stepmother, who was always trying to be a strict mother figure. The rivalry between Sonia and Dolores extended beyond Felipe's health. It was a clash of wills and values. Sonia advocated for flexibility and love, while Dolores clung to control and discipline. This battle reflected not only their different approaches to caring for Filipe, but also the life experiences each brought to the table. "If you truly cared about Filipe, you would be willing to follow the guidelines we've established," Dolores taunted, a sarcastic smile provoking Sonia's anger. The tension in the room escalated, and the atmosphere became palpable. Sonia, for her part, decided she couldn't let the discussion turn into an endless war. She stood up, took a deep breath, and looked into Dolores' eyes. "I understand that you want what's best for Filipe, but what he really needs is support and understanding. He's already facing a battle. Let's work together to help him win this fight instead of attacking each other," Sonia said, her voice gentle yet determined. Dolores hesitated for a moment, her eyes revealing a vulnerability she rarely showed. But with the unyielding pride that characterized her, she turned her face away, allowing Sonia to realize that, despite all the challenges, the fight was far from over. The room remained silent, a battleground between two worlds vying for Felipe's attention and love. The boy, sensing the rising tension, simply wished for the voices to calm down so he could return to dreaming about his plants and flowers as he used to. And so, the day that should have been filled with hope became a field of disputes, where a son's love was the prize both wanted to win. The soft morning light filtered through the waiting room windows, bringing a sense of hope, but also of anxiety. Sonia, always attentive and caring, was about to attend another medical appointment with Filipe, the boy who had become an important part of her life. With a tight heart, she reflected on everything they had been through together and how crucial emotional support could be for his recovery. The room was filled with the sound of paper crumpling and people whispering nervously. When they were finally called in, Sonia held Felipe's hand, which was pale but still had a curious look. He always asked questions about the plants they observed through the window, and that brought a smile to Sonia's face. It was a small escape from the harsh reality they faced. During the appointment, the doctor, an experienced and gentle man, began to speak about Felipe's health condition. As he reviewed the tests, Sonia realized the seriousness of the situation. Filipe needs a specific treatment, the doctor said in a serious tone. But there's one factor we cannot ignore. He needs to feel loved and supported. Empathy and affection are essential for the treatment's effectiveness. Emotional connection can make all the difference. These words echoed in Sonia's mind like a warning bell. She knew that the environment Filipe was living in, marked by tensions and rivalries, was not conducive to his emotional well-being. The idea that love could be such a vital part of the recovery process made her heart tighten even more. She looked at Filipe, who was focused on every word the doctor said, and recognized his fragility, not just physically but emotionally. When the appointment ended, Sonia couldn't help but feel a wave of determination wash over her. She knew she needed to do something, and that something included Ronaldo, Felipe's father, who always seemed torn between Dolores' expectations and his love for his son. Ronaldo, Sonia began as they walked away from the examination room. We need to talk. What the doctor said is crucial. Filipe needs an environment filled with love and support. Ronaldo looked at her, surprised, but there was a glimmer of understanding in his eyes. I know he's struggling, but how can we change that? Dolores is so rigid, and I don't want to challenge her, he replied, concern evident in his voice. Sonia took a deep breath, knowing that this conversation would not be easy. I understand your concern, but that's exactly why we need to act. Filipe needs to feel that he is surrounded by love, that he is not alone in this battle. We can find a way to bring more empathy into the home. It's a step that could transform his recovery, Sonia said fervently. With each word that left her lips, Sonia realized she was touching something inside Ronaldo. He began to reflect on the rigidity he had imposed on the situation and how it was affecting Filipe. Memories of the laughter he had shared with his son surfaced in his mind, and he realized that amidst all the struggle, he had forgotten what truly mattered: the emotional connection that could strengthen the boy during his toughest moments. You're right, Sonia. I need to be more present, more understanding. I want Filipe to know that we are here for him, not against him, he said, his voice heavy with emotion. A light of hope began to shine in his eyes, and Sonia felt that this was a pivotal moment. The conversation flowed, and Sonia used her knowledge of empathy to explain how small gestures of affection could help Filipe feel loved and valued. She suggested that they create an environment at home that encouraged the expression of feelings and desires. Let's encourage Filipe to talk about what he loves, about the plants he wants to take care of. Let's show him that we are by his side, that we believe in his dreams, Sonia proposed. Ronaldo nodded, already visualizing the changes that could occur. He began to imagine the house transformed, not just as a physical space, but as a home filled with love and understanding. I want to be a better father for Filipe. I want him to feel that he can count on me at any moment, he declared, determination taking hold of his heart. As they walked toward the hospital exit, Sonia and Ronaldo animatedly discussed the steps to be taken. Filipe, walking alongside them, began to feel a new energy surrounding him. He looked at Sonia and Ronaldo, sensing a change in the air, a wave of love and hope that seemed to envelop them. And in that moment he smiled. A smile that seemed to reflect the sunlight beginning to shine more brightly than before. Thus, this moment became a turning point not just for Reynaldo, but also for Filipe, who now knew he had the support of his father and Sonia. The emotional connection that Sonia had envisioned began to form, promising a brighter path for the little botanist who dreamed of blossoming. With sunlight streaming through the kitchen window, illuminating every corner of the house, Sonia felt determined to transform not just Felipe's diet, but his entire life. With the newfound support from Reynaldo, she began to create a new routine filled with love and joy, where the food Filipe loved and his favorite activities with plants would take center stage. At the beginning of the week, Sonia gathered the whole family in the kitchen, where the aroma of fresh herbs and colorful vegetables hung in the air. "Today, we're going to cook together," she said with a contagious smile. Filipe, who had always shown an interest in fresh ingredients, lit up at the sound of this. He approached the counter, where Sonia had prepared a variety of vibrant vegetables and aromatic herbs. "Can I help choose the herbs, Sonia?" Filipe asked, his curious and excited gaze shining. As they chopped and prepared the food, Sonia was not only focused on cooking, but also on sharing stories about each ingredient. "Did you know that rosemary is great for memory?" she said while Filipe smelled the fresh leaves. "And basil is a symbol of love in Italy. Let's make a salad with all of this." Filipe listened intently, fascinated, and began to feel a sense of empowerment as he got involved in the process. Sonia also had plans for more outdoor activities. She organized a special day in the small garden behind the house. With Reynaldo's help, she prepared a small area where Filipe could plant his own seeds. "Today is the day you become a true botanist," Sonia exclaimed, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. Filipe was beaming, hardly able to contain his excitement as he chose the seeds he wanted to plant. Dolores, though reluctant, began to notice the changes happening inside the house. Felipe's laughter, which had once seemed rare, now echoed through the rooms. His joy at seeing the first green leaves emerge from the soil was contagious. Watching all this, Dolores felt a mix of confusion and discontent. What was happening? What did Sonia have that she couldn't offer her son? Felipe's happiness, which had once left her indifferent, now became a thorn in her heart. During a family dinner, as everyone tasted the new recipes created by Sonia, Filipe, with a beaming smile, praised the dish. "Mom, you have to try this. It's the best thing I've ever tasted." Dolores, sitting at the table, couldn't ignore the scene. Her son was so happy, so full of life, and inside her, a whirlwind of emotions began to rise. Yet she remained closed off in her rigidity, resisting the idea that there could be another path beyond the one she had always followed. "Filipe," Dolores began in a tone that was both questioning and dismissive, "don't you think you should eat something more appropriate? This doesn't look like real food." Her words cut through the light atmosphere of the room like a knife. The joy that had filled the space seemed to fade for a moment. Reynaldo, observing the interaction, felt a knot in his stomach. He knew that the old family dynamics were about to be confronted. "Dolores, Filipe is happy. Isn't that what matters? We're trying to give him a space to grow and feel loved," Reynaldo said, his voice firm yet filled with care. Sonia, sensing the tension at the table, decided to intervene gently. "Dolores, each of us has our own preferences. The food that Filipe loves is how he connects with nature. This experience can be just as beneficial for him as any other diet you have in mind," she said, her tone soft yet determined. Dolores crossed her arms, reluctant. But as she watched Filipe, she noticed that he was more excited than ever. He was sharing stories about the plants he had started to grow, his eyes shining with the possibility of seeing his little creations flourish. She couldn't help but feel a pang of pride, mixed with a shadow of jealousy and insecurity. Thus, the gradual transformation began to take place. With each small step, Filipe was blossoming, and the house, once marked by tension, started to overflow with life and joy. However, Dolores' resistance still hung in the air like a dense cloud that refused to dissipate. She began to confront her own attitudes, questioning whether she was truly doing the best for her son. As the days went by, while Filipe's happiness grew, Sonia remained steadfast in her mission to promote an environment where love and understanding could thrive. Even though she was reluctant, Dolores noticed that Filipe's smile became more radiant each day, and little by little, she began to feel that she could be a part of this change, even if it meant leaving behind some of her deeply held beliefs. As the sun set, bathing the house in a gentle warmth, Sonia knew that they were only at the beginning of this journey. Love and understanding could overcome any resistance, and together they would become a true team, fighting for Filipe, who dreamed of becoming a botanist and, in doing so, blossoming in his own life. It was a sunny day, with a blue sky dotted with white clouds that looked like cotton candy. The song of the birds filled the air, and the fresh scent of freshly cut grass brought a sense of renewal. Sonia, always full of ideas and enthusiasm, decided it was time to create a special moment for Filipe and perhaps even for Dolores. She organized a small gardening activity in the backyard, a space that had previously been just a passageway but could now transform into a true refuge of happiness and growth. When Filipe learned about the activity, he was radiant. His eyes sparkled with anticipation. He loved plants and dreamed of cultivating a garden full of flowers and herbs. With a wide smile, he approached Dolores, who was in the living room, focused on her daily tasks. "Mom, today we're going to plant together. You can come too. It'll be fun," he exclaimed, excitement shining in his voice. Dolores, on the other hand, hesitated. The idea of getting involved in something so simple, yet so new, made her uneasy. Gardening? Isn't that just a way to pass the time? And who will take care of the serious things at home? She replied, a hint of resistance in her voice. But looking at Filipe's beaming face, she felt a lightness in her heart. The sparkle in her son's eyes was contagious. With a sigh, Dolores decided to give it a chance. "Okay, I'll see what you all are doing," she said, trying to hide the growing anxiety within her. As soon as she arrived in the backyard, she saw Sonia with a warm smile, surrounded by small pots of soil and colorful seeds. The scene was inviting, and the air was filled with the vibrant energy of spring. "I'm so glad you came, Dolores," Sonia said enthusiastically. "We're going to plant some herbs and flowers that Filipe picked. This isn't just gardening. It's about creating something together. Let's make a beautiful space where you and Filipe can connect with nature." As they began to work, the tension in the air seemed to slowly dissipate. Filipe showed Dolores how to plant the seeds, his small hands carefully holding the tiny capsules of life. "Here, Mom. First, we make a hole in the soil, and then we put in the seed. Look how tiny it is, but it's going to grow and turn into a beautiful plant," he said, explaining with the innocence and confidence of someone who believes in miracles. At first, Dolores watched with a serious expression, but soon she couldn't resist Filipe's genuine joy. He spoke about each plant with so much love and admiration that she began to loosen up. Sonia encouraged her, showing her how to water the seedlings and how to take care of them, creating an atmosphere of collaboration and discovery. As time passed, Dolores' hands became involved in the soil. She began to understand what Filipe felt, the magic of planting something and watching it grow. Laughter started to fill the air, and soon the backyard was alive with joy. "Look, Mom, now we have to give names to the plants," Filipe suggested, his eyes shining. And so, amidst laughter and playfulness, they began to name their little creations. A pot of basil became Herbzilla, and a yellow flower was named Sunshine. Seeing Filipe's happiness, Dolores allowed herself to get carried away. The emotional connection that began to form was palpable. She saw his joy and couldn't contain herself anymore. The barrier that existed between her and Sonia was starting to dissolve. "Who would have thought I'd have so much fun doing this?" She found herself thinking out loud, an involuntary smile spreading across her lips. Sonia, noticing the change, seized the moment. "This is just the beginning, Dolores. Every plant that grows is another step toward Felipe's happiness and yours. We're all in this together, Sonia said, with a tender look that encouraged Dolores to open up even more. With the sun beginning to set, painting the sky orange and pink, the backyard transformed into a place of light and love. The gardening afternoon not only brought flowers and herbs to the space, but also sowed something deeper. A renewed bond between mother and son, and a new side of Dolores. The woman who once seemed so rigid was now showing vulnerability and a willingness to explore this new path. Dolores didn't realize it, but at that moment, while she was planting and laughing, she was starting to change. The flowers were not just decorations. They were symbols of hope and renewal. She found herself surrounded by Filipe and Sonia, forming a trio that was beginning to build a lighter, more loving future. Gardening had become an act of healing, a moment that, in some way, showed that it was possible to cultivate not just a garden, but also deeper, more meaningful relationships. The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky with a mosaic of warm colors, shades of orange, pink, and purple blending together, as if the universe itself were creating a magical scene. In the backyard, now filled with freshly planted flowers and herbs, there was an air of renewal and hope. Filipe, stronger and happier, was surrounded by light that emanated not only from the setting sun, but also from the love that was beginning to blossom between him, Sonia, and Dolores. The change hadn't been instantaneous. In the days following the gardening activity, a new dynamic had emerged. Dolores was striving to open her heart, battling her own fears and insecurities. She had started to realize that the coldness she had adopted brought her nothing good. On the contrary, it created a barrier between her and Filipe, a wall that isolated the love they could share. More importantly, Sonia's presence, which had always been there to help, was becoming increasingly necessary. One afternoon, as the flowers swayed gently in the breeze, Dolores decided it was time to do something different. She sat down with Filipe and Sonia on the living room couch, the atmosphere filled with a soft and comforting silence. Her heart was racing, and the words that had been locked in her mind began to find their way out. I want to talk to you, Dolores said, her voice trembling but filled with sincerity. Filipe, somewhat surprised, looked at his mother, his eyes full of expectation. Sonia, in turn, smiled encouragingly, knowing that this moment could be the turning point they had all been waiting for. "Mom, you can talk," Filipe urged, curiosity and hope mixed in his expression. Dolores took a deep breath, her hands nervously intertwining. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for being so rigid and cold with you. What I thought was protection only pushed you away from me. I realize now that it wasn't what Filipe needed. He needed love and understanding, and I wasn't able to provide that," she confessed, tears beginning to shimmer in her eyes. With every word that left her mouth, Filipe felt a wave of emotions. A mix of relief and happiness began to wash over him. He had longed to hear those words, and now they were finally here. "It's okay, Mom," he said, moving closer and holding her hand. "I've always loved you, and I just wanted you to see how happy I am now." Sonia, watching the scene with a heart full of hope, couldn't help but feel emotional. She knew how difficult it was for Dolores to admit her flaws, and how much that moment meant for the family. "Dolores, change is a sign of strength, and you're doing this now for Filipe and for yourself. This is a big step," Sonia said in a gentle voice that conveyed support and encouragement. With tears streaming down her face, Dolores smiled, feeling a lightness she hadn't known in a long time. The weight of guilt and emotional distance began to dissipate. "Thank you for forgiving me and for all your support, Sonia. I truly couldn't have done this without you," she replied, gratitude shining through every word. The atmosphere in the room transformed as if the sunlight had seeped into every corner. The family, now closer than ever, decided it was time to celebrate this new beginning. Together, they went to the kitchen and prepared a snack, laughing and talking like never before. The aroma of baked goods and hot tea filled the house, and the atmosphere was warm and loving. As they ate, Felipe couldn't help but look at his mother and Sonia, feeling grateful for that moment. He had become stronger, not just physically but emotionally. That conversation had broken the chains that held him to the past and sadness, paving the way for a brighter future. Sonia, realizing her role that was coming to an end, began to prepare to say goodbye. But before leaving, she looked into Felipe and Dolores' eyes and said, "Always remember the power of love and empathy. They can heal wounds that we often don't even realize we have. You have each other. And that's all you need to overcome any challenge." With a tight hug, Sonia said her goodbyes, leaving with the feeling that she had truly made a difference. As she walked out, she looked back and saw mother and son smiling at each other, a picture of love and reconciliation that she hoped to have helped create. The video ends with a powerful message, a reminder for everyone. Empathy and love are the pillars of emotional health. Cultivate genuine connections, embrace your vulnerabilities, and never underestimate the strength of forgiveness. The path to healing begins in the heart. This story not only portrays the growth of the characters, but also touches on universal themes of overcoming adversity, love, and the importance of a warm and understanding environment for recovery. The journey of Dolores, Felipe, and Sonia is a testament that even amidst difficulties, there is always room for change and hope.